Ranking 2019. Please, I would request all the guests to settle down. May I please request all the guests and dignitaries to please settle down, and we'll be beginning shortly in another 2 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope that little tea break after the award was refreshing for all of you. Now let's begin the second half of Jagran Josh Institute Ranking 2019. India's higher education sector is undergoing a major transformation. While giving us several new opportunities to learn and explore fresh domains, it has also thrown up several new challenges that need to be tackled. Youth unemployment is among the most pressing challenges faced in the country. It is the need of the hour to work towards bridging the gap between education and employment. The best foot forward in this regard is increased partnership between universities and regional employers. The challenge is not only technical education or the curriculum, but rather in the development of soft skills such as management and communication skills. We would like to begin with our HR panel discussion, which will talk about the skill gap from campus to corporate and future of jobs in digital industry. So the first HR panel discussion is on the topic skill gap from campus to corporate, and I would like the audience to join their hands together and welcome the moderator for this discussion, who is an award-winning radio jockey from Radio City 91.1, 4 years consecutively the best RJ across the country winner of New York Festival, and Apni Dilli Ki Awaaz, Gini Mahajan. Please join your hands together in welcoming our moderator for the first panel discussion.
Thank you, Siddharth. Good afternoon, everybody. The kullad wali chai looked really, really nice. Somebody be nice enough to save me one. It's a very exciting time. It's a very interesting time to have a panel discussion. Our Prime Minister just tweeted that 15 minutes he's going to make an announcement. So I'm a little worried. Let's start our panel discussion with that. Today, of course, when the Vice President was also here, he spoke about skill gap that's happening between the campus to the corporate. So to address this, let me call my panel on stage. Urvi Aradhya, Urvi has been the torchbearer, instilling professionalism, inducting the best talent pool at the K. Raheja Corp. Leading the group's HR function, Urvi's perseverance over the last 10 years of her association has led the company to being recognized as people-friendly, flexible workplace, and one which has policies handpicked to include the best from across industries. Welcome, Urvi. Dr. Vishwanath Joshi. Sir leads the practice of Journey program at the Great Place to Work India. Previously, he has worked with IT consulting organizations like Mahindra Consulting, Patni, KPIT Cummins, and Brain Visa Technologies. His PhD thesis explored how IT professionals in India experience their career and used a unique approach of phenomenology to uncover this theme. Sir, you must tell me how to pronounce this word better, though. Our last panelist, Shubhankar Ghosh. Shubhankar is from IIM Ahmedabad, has over 18 years of experience, has worked with great companies like ICICI Prudential, Muthoot, ABP News Network, and currently holds the position of Chief People Officer at Zoom Insurance Brokers Private Limited. So we start the panel. Shall I come there? Yep. Hi, everybody. The first question that I have to ask you, every time I opened my Google search box to figure out what is the skill gap in campus to corporate, I was told employability is defined by 3 criteria. What are those criteria? Would you just explain? Urvi, starting with you.
All right. So much has been said, as you correctly said, about the soft skills, which a lot of students are lacking today. We also talk about the knowledge, what they have, but what exactly is the knowledge that we are talking about? I would actually like to really little bit elaborate on the word knowledge. Knowledge is not something that we have learned in our college or school days. Yes, it is a very important aspect of what we are doing or it is in our career. But in my mind, knowledge is our ability to ask right kind of questions. And here I would like to give you a small example of the country, very small country, Israel, which is very well known for coming up with a lot of new innovations. And you'll be surprised that unlike India, where a lot of times if you are a parent, you always ask that how many marks you got and what's the rank you have got to our kids. Mothers in Israel ask their kids, what did you learn today? What did you ask today? So I think that overall inquisitiveness and retain it throughout our career is something I would call knowledge, and that's going to really help us in going ahead in our career. Second most important, which again, always it's been told that we hire for attitude. Now what's attitude? We all know we all should have positive attitude, and standard answer when you ask the candidates, they are going to say, yes, I have great attitude. But what is it? Again, let me decipher a little bit on attitude. How much you are able to work around in a limited resources? Can you still remain positive to take forward your work? And can you see the opportunity even into threat situations? One funny example, let me share with you. One of the day, I wasn't finding my favorite dress, and suddenly I saw my daughter wearing it. And I started worrying about my wardrobe. And my husband told me that if she is fitting into your dress, you also can fit into her dress. Suddenly she started worrying, and my wardrobe got so much better. So,
I hate mothers and their logic. I hate mothers and their logic. That completely works. But you know, this whole attitude.
There is opportunity in every threat. Initially, when I thought, oh my God, my wardrobe is going to be raided, instead I got her wardrobe as well, and which is more stylish. So, you know, I mean, the threat, what I incidentally initially thought, it wasn't a threat, it was an opportunity. So are we, when we are in corporate, immediately we come up that are we really able to see the opportunity in every threat which is being presented to us? I think that's something, attitude, which matters a lot.
And the third important factor is skill. So you're looking at three factors: knowledge, skill, attitude. Skills.
Skill is apart from your hardcore knowledge, which is again very important. Skill is able to get the work done from the team. Skill is also to work with diverse teams in the organization. Skill is also to work with diverse generations into the organizations. And skill is also to work around with limited resources and not having enough data. In spite of that, you can work around that. I think I would call it the culmination of all this as a skill. Yeah.
Dr. Joshi, are universities teaching all of these to students? Because that's a little tough.
Yeah. So I'll give an MBA answer for this. Yes, no, and maybe. Last about 16 years, I've had an opportunity to teach at different universities. And I realized that even today, a large part of the emphasis is or continues to be on academics, which is good. And I strongly believe that that base is very critical. And I realized this when I recently was having a conversation as a part of my day job at Great Place to Work. I get opportunities to meet a lot of senior executives from different companies. And we were having this conversation with a very senior vice president of an IT consulting company in Pune. And he was telling me, they call me Vijay. So he said, Vijay, when we go out and hire, and this is one company that hires in thousands every year, engineering and management schools, said there are three things that we are looking for. And we go to hundreds of institutions, and we still don't find that students have this right stuff in them. So what is that? He said, one, ability. We continue to find that in best engineering colleges, as well as in management schools, while the school is emphasizing on academics, the students aren't. And therefore, the foundations, the basics are still a big gap. So one is ability. Second is flexibility. Yeah? And he said something that really intrigued me. He said, fundamentally, specialization breeds narrow-mindedness. A marketing guy only wants to do a marketing job. The HR guy says, I'm looking for placements in HR. The mechanical engineering guy is saying, look, I want to get into mechanical engineering only. And therefore, lack of flexibility is becoming a big issue for a lot of corporations. And third, which is probably the most critical, is the get-along ability. Yeah? Can they work together? Can they work as a part of the team? Can they collaborate? Do they understand how to deal with conflicts? None of these really form a formal instructional method in any of these schools, be it management schools. The situation is worse in engineering colleges as well. This is really what my colleagues from the corporate tell me about their challenge in getting the best and the brightest from these schools. Yeah.
So I have a question. Constantly, whenever you're looking at these figures, they say about 25 to 47% students are only employable. What does that imply? What does that mean in simple words? I mean, if in a college, a specific college, 100 people are passing out, they're taught the same curriculum, they're taught the same structure, they're taught the same academics, why is it that only 25% are employable?
Okay. I will have an...
All three of you can answer that.
Yeah, I'll have a personal perspective on it, and you must feel free to correct me. I think a lot of times when companies also go to hire, they don't know what they're looking for. Yeah. So some of these numbers also come from there. Second, they're also looking at it from a very narrow perspective to say, does this person have these three things that I'm looking for in terms of the skills? Yeah. So very close-minded attitude, and therefore they go out of the best of the business schools and engineering technical institutions saying these people are not employable because they don't fit into their definition of employability. Otherwise, these students, and I get a chance to meet many of them, they are brilliant, they have amazing artistic bent of mind, they have tremendous potential to learn, but because none of these become an important part of measuring while the hiring process is on, most corporates, I think, are disappointed today.
So it's non-flexibility of the corporates, according to you?
Absolutely, yes.
Sir?
Yeah, I would like to elaborate on the first question. As rightly said, knowledge, skill, and attitude, three matters a lot. Knowledge is something like, you learn the technicalities and you gain something, okay? That power you have to utilize somewhere. To elaborate this, some teachers, sorry, please don't mind my words. Some teachers, they might be very literate guys. They might be doctorates. But they do not or might not have the ability to teach others or translate that education to somebody else. So that is a skill. That skill is not there, but he or she might be a very knowledgeable person. And talking about the attitude, there also, I'd like to cite an example, from my own fraternity, HR fraternity. There would be many HR guys, if they're, being told that from tomorrow onwards you move into sales or business development, they will really have a nightmare. They would really have a challenge to shift into other, departments. So what, I would like to say is that, nowadays, we are actually, doing a lot of compartmentalizing. Earlier, when, PSUs were there, they were functioning well, the government organizations still, when people were taken as an apprentice or maybe an intern, from that time till exit, they have worked in almost all the departments, and they do not have any fear in working for any department. But as on date, things are pretty different. I mean, I keep on visiting a lot of colleges and universities. Today's date also, HR as a fraternity, it is being sold to people as if it is a sitting kind of a job, and you do not have to work, you have to only give offer letters and you have to only chuck people. But it is not like that. So things have changed. I think it needs to be communicated well to the students. So I think knowledge, skill, and attitude, which we call, which we can call as a psychology also, or maybe you can call as an applied behavioral science, that how you actually behave and how it is impacting others and how others' behavior is impacting you. This thing is very important. Until and unless, I feel, according to the statistics, my friend would also agree, that most of the conflicts, most of the problems and challenges people face, it is not because of technical things. Most of the things are because of attitude and the ego problem. So, it actually, it's a road blocker for the people. So I feel when we talk about this gap between industry and academia, technicalities, theoretical aspect, absolutely it should be taught. But how it is being implemented and what are the practical challenges things can happen, all those also, requires, attention. And there should be more, people like, for example, nowadays if we talk about the corporate people also, we also have got a lot of faults. It's not like only the industry, universities or the colleges needs to rectify. Nowadays, many industries and corporates, they keep on, offering internships to people. But whether the mentors who have been assigned from the corporate side, are they interacting with the students from time to time? Whether they are imparting that knowledge, or at the end of 60 days, 7 दिन जब हो गया खत्म, तब एक दिन जाके शक्ल दिखाया और certificate दे दिया. This way the things will not happen. So it is both a challenge for us also. We cannot expect that the college and university जो है सब कुछ हमारे लिए करके ready-made लोग लाएंगे, नहीं. It is actually, this effort has to be made by the student, the college and universities, and the corporates also.
I hold my head down in shame. I've done that a lot of times. Everybody who was supposed to sit with me, I would just sign. Thank you, sir, for making me feel extremely guilty. But having said that, how will you ensure that people who are from a university, you see, in a university, there are different sets of problems, which is basically marks, basically trying to finish your curriculum. In that case, when all three of you are talking about interpersonal skills, are talking about soft skills, how will the universities actually get that in? What's the solution to this? I understand the need.
Yep.
The solution.
See, it's a combination of efforts from the campus and the universities as well as the corporate as well. Because I wouldn't blame the students alone or the universities alone. These are raw talent which is coming to the corporate. And is the corporate willing to invest in making them more employable? Believe me, when a student comes with a technical or a domain knowledge, you don't need too much of time to train them to make it really successful in a corporate life. All you need, sometimes we have noticed that just 3 to 4 months. And I'll give you one example in our pure retail format where we need a lot of shop floor executives and big number of people, big number of candidates, we need them. And two things are very paramount here, the customer centricity and the communication skills. Yes, we realized that it wasn't up to the mark what we needed, but we just started the skill development module in the corporate for 3 months running, And batches after batches started coming in, and we started putting them on the shop floor, and that model just worked. So, the efforts needs to be there even from the corporate as well to make them more employable and make it successful.
I have a point.
Go ahead.
In fact, as we have internships for the students, why can't this internship be, can't we have for the, faculty members also?
I was just going to get to
So
that.
in
That's
fact,
faculty
yeah,
members.
because I have had an opportunity to study in one of the best schools, B schools. There I have found, many faculty members. In fact, they have an open, they have clearly told that 60% or 50% of the time you can spend with the corporate people. Then what happens, if a faculty member is going to the industry and getting a perspective, you don't need to call, corporate people like us every time, and you don't have to be dependent on us every time. You get the feeling there, and you come back and try teaching your students. So that can really work well.
The practical experience over anything else for faculty. Vijay, I'm going to ask you a question, okay, which is that everybody is talking about, to a certain extent, communication as well, interpersonal skills. In engineering colleges, in MBA colleges, somewhere should communication per se be made a subject which can then be marked, which can, to a certain extent, you can trace what's happening out there. Is that essential?
I'll give you a better option. And this is really what we see happening with a lot of our clients who are great workplaces. What they have managed to do is to establish this amazing partnership with the schools that they recruit from. And how have they chosen those schools? A lot of them, in a lot of these schools, technical as well as management schools, they have managed to create an environment where the school is a lab for the students to learn. Okay? I'll give you one example. At Great Place to Work, and many of you will know, we highlight 3 aspects which create great workplace cultures. Okay? We say trust is important. You need to have pride in what you're doing and where you're doing it. And of course, there has to be a high level of camaraderie. If you're able to build these 3 elements in the way you run a business or run a school, then you become a great workplace. I can tell you from my experience, I've had opportunities to teach in more than 24 business schools. Hardly any of them really reflect these cultural attributes. And when the same students go in the corporate and suddenly they are told, we are a great workplace because we trust each other, there is a great camaraderie, we do things together, and of course we build a sense of pride, they are lost, they don't know what to do. So while many of these technical institutions do have a subject of communication, it's hardly paid attention to. And a lot of my friends from engineering schools tell me that that's a 7th semester subject. Nobody really cares.
Basically from a sub-C, make it a main.
Absolutely, yeah. But the more important thing is, are you role modeling an environment that is really preparing them for the corporates? And if you're not doing that, subjects are not going to work. Yeah.
Thank you. I work with Radio City. It's a great place to work. Thanks. I just remember that in the middle. We have all of those things in place. Too many universities are coming in. So if you talk about, say, I'll just take a small area in Delhi. Delhi NCR has Noida, Greater Noida. You throw a stone and literally there's a university everywhere. Too many universities, are they sort of giving you too many students? Are they spoiling the crop of students? Is there a plenty of too much? Is there a supply too much? Or the quality is starting from you, sir?
So people are easily available, but whether they're employable or not, that's a question mark.
Therefore, 25%.
Now, and in fact, not only, why should I blame only the people who are available? We should blame the leaders also who are available in the industry. There are a lot of leaders, but whether, they are actually doing the work or not up to their, capacity, that is the challenge. To cite this example, I would like to, give an example, in my previous organization. Communication is a very important thing, not only with that, student who is applying for the job, but from the leader's perspective also. Now, you have actually, run a contest that, if you perform and, I will be sitting with you for a dinner or maybe giving you a certificate, you launch this, performance activity. And at the end of the year, you find that you have only gone for the first month and the rest 11 months, you did not go. So what are you actually, communicating to the people? That, you are good in highlighting, but you are actually, not doing that job. Similarly, from the management side also, from the HR point of view also, when you actually recruit a person, it's very important to tell him or her that on what parameters you will be judged at the end of the year.
The KRAs.
The KRAs side. So communication is very important, whether it is on the hard side or whether it is on the soft side. So hard side, you have to clearly mention that these are the parameters. I have seen many corporates and very big brands also that maybe they are getting the KRAs maybe just before the PMS, the appraisal, is going to happen. They are actually punching that in the online system and doing. So my question is that if you are there doing it at the last moment, how will they monitor their performance? So it's basically, it's very important. This communication part is very, very important. Not only the people who are there on the other side of the table, but on this side of the table also on the corporate side, they also need to really act maturely.
Period is important
Very
in colleges, at workplaces. Getting back to too many students coming out, too many universities producing students, is that becoming one of the reasons? Because you see, pehle kya hota tha? You had to be a graduate, right? Now, every parent across feels that you have to be an MBA. It's minimum qualification. So as a result, there are all of these. Is this kind of killing the workforce to a certain extent?
See, I personally feel, and based on what I see with a lot of our client organizations, this has now become a strategic priority for them. So companies which are good in hiring are very, very careful in hiring. They are very rigorous in hiring. It doesn't really matter. Even if there is a university at a stone's throw distance, if you are, for example, a Mahindra and Mahindra, you're not going to go there. Yeah. So from the point of view of quality, if you're not really doing that, if you're not able to convince the organizations that yes, we do produce the right stuff, they're not going to come to you. Anyway, we heard our Honorable Vice President telling us today morning that more than 800 institutions are closing down, which is very, very common. I think last year in Pune district alone, there were about 600 institutions which closed down, right? Also going back a little to the communication, there's a joke in the faculty rooms, and some of you will know this who are faculty. They say that, especially in the context of MBA, they say that what they don't have in content, they make up in confidence. Yeah. Now that's the other extreme of communication, that despite being great communicator, you speak great language, you can make the right noises, but if you don't have the content, you're still back to square one. Yeah.
True that. So equally important. Urvi, I'm going to ask you this. A lot of kids are coming from engineering colleges, okay, and who've done a postgraduate in, say, a specific field, will turn around and say, we don't need communication. Our technical knowledge is so sound. And that's a thing that you hear constantly. How do you deal with that?
I can very much relate to this because in our organization, the largest amount of engineers and architects is something which we keep on recruiting. And also around the communication, I think the entire paradigm shift from the corporate side is required, and I would just club all put together into this. As far as the degrees are concerned, I think we need to start from the corporate perspective. Instead of degrees, the knowledge. The day we start emphasizing on that, I think the quality of learning is going to improve drastically among student community as well. So that's number one. About communication, I completely agree what he said. Communication is not about ticking box and making great presentation, which is what in recent time a lot of B schools have started incorporating in. It's about, again, knowledge. Unless and until there is a depth of knowledge on the subject, your communication is never going to be effective. You may be a good orator, yes, but are you communicating? Are you articulating it properly? No. And that's what it matters, because ultimately the results are going to come from your knowledge, your articulation, your ability to convince people. And if these are missing because of your lack of knowledge and the depth in your subject, it's of no use. So I think we need to go much beyond communication and understand the real meaning of communication.
And if you let me add to this, in my experience, I've now been part of the Great Place to Work for the last 5 years. Last 14 years, I teach in executive MBA programs, and I'm convinced that these engineers recognize the importance of communication and interpersonal orientation in about 15 years' time that they start their career. because that is the time that they come back to classrooms and they want to learn this, because by this time they've got stuck mid-age in their career and now they don't know where to move from here, because their inability to negotiate, their inability to communicate well, be influencing enough has now all affected their own career prospects. And it's 15 years by the time they come back and they want to learn. And therefore, even today, 70% of the training budgets of corporates is in areas like communication and soft skills.
I would like to add one thing. If you're in an individual contributor role, still, technical expertise, might work. You don't need to be, so much, great in your behavioral skill sets. But when you rise up the ladder, ultimately when you reach up to that strategic level, so you need to develop your people management skills. So, the softer
also
aspect.
the ability to sell your idea. If you have a brilliant idea, you can't sell it. We've been talking for the last half hour. I'm going to wrap this up about what are the things people need. To end, I'm going to ask you guys one word that you feel in candidates should definitely not be present when they're coming in for an interview. What is a complete no-no for you? Starting with you, Urvi.
What do they need?
What do they not need? One thing that is an absolute no-no for you.
All right.
Is it going to be overconfidence? Is it going to be too much technical? Is it going to be extreme competitiveness? What is it?
Individualistic attitude where you are not open to collaborate. I think that can become a big hindrance in a corporate world.
Okay.
I would say unwillingness to learn.
How do you judge that?
Well, there are a variety of tools that you can judge that, but essentially, if you are unwilling to do what it takes, then that's a problem for
I want to stick to what I'm doing. I will not move. I'm not flexible, basically.
If they don't know what they're coming for, so definitely, I would not like to.
I like this. I like this. Thank you very much. That's been a very fascinating panel. Thank you very much, people, for listening in so nicely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ginny, and all the panelists for your valuable insights. And now it's time to introduce you guys to our next set of panelists who will be discussing the future of jobs in digital industry with Ginny. I would like to welcome Prasenjit Bhattacharya. He has over 2 decades of experience in Indian and multinational corporations like HSBC, Aisha Consultancy Services, Siemens, and Crompton Greaves. Prasenjit has worked closely as an internal HR consultant and as an external consultant with senior leadership teams at various organizations in the area of change management. Prasenjit heads Great Places to Work in India, the world's leading institute doing research and creating great workplaces. Prasenjit has done his MBA in Personal Management and Industrial Relations from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Please welcome Prasenjit, everyone. Our next panelist is Sonali D. Sakar. She's a transformational and strategic HR leader with experience in enabling organizations grow and evolve into strategic business entities through talent strategy, strategic partnering, organizational effectiveness, people practices, and change management. She's passionate about building leadership teams that transform the businesses in a fast-paced and complex market environment in India, US, APAC, and the Middle East. Please join your hands together in welcoming her. And our final panelist is Rishi Mehra, who's the staffing lead at Google India. Rishi leads staffing for Google India and GTech for APAC. In his role, Rishi leads a high-performance team which helps bring in world-class talent to Google. Rishi has been with Google since 2017 with more than 16 years of industry experience, predominantly in the staffing and HR shared services domain. Please welcome Rishi Mehra, staffing lead, Google India. So welcome everyone. I would like to ask Ginny to begin with the proceedings now. Thank you.
Hi again, my name is Ginny. I work with Radio City. I do their morning show. Hello all of you. Digital, you guys are going to represent what the whole world